Okay, this recording is going to show how to um, make a video recording using the Wolfram language. The Wolfram language does not have any built-in video recording tools, and so what we have to do is use an external tool to record video. And in this case, I'm using a tool called FFmpeg. So FFmpeg is a very commonly used tool to record video. Let me just bring up this the website that they have here. It's been around for a long time. It does a lot of things, and it has a very nice command line interface, which we're going to use to build this, to record the video, with the Wolfram language. So all this documentation is right here on the ffmpeg.org website, and there's you can click on options, and then there's lots of options that are supported, and I'm going to use only a handful of them right here in this recording to make a video recording. So we have the tool, and we have to kind of define where that is. And on my machine, it lives at on the D drive. I have a C drive and a D drive, and in this case, I installed this tool on the D drive in a directory called ffmpeg, and then bin, and then this is the name of the executable that we're going to need. And we're going to be using a function called run process, which takes a list, and the first element of the list is the name of the executable, or the binary, and then everything else is command line options. So the way to read that is that this is the binary, and then space, and then list devices, space true, space -f, space dshow, space -i, space dummy. So let me kind of show this on the what this looks like on the command line here. So this is the same thing, right? ffmpeg space list devices true f dshow dummy. And what this first section is doing, it's just going to find the webcam that I have attached to my computer, which is the final output that you see right there. It's the USB video device. But let me kind of show you what the full output is, and what these 4 or 5 lines of code below it are for. Let me just hit enter on this. Oops. If I can. Okay, there we go. So this command outputs a lot of information, and what I'm really after is these lines, these purple lines here that says that say dshow, and particularly I just care about the ones that have the names of the devices. So here's a name of a device, and it also shows an audio device, which we'll not be using. So what I'm doing is this run process will basically have this big piece of text as its result, and that result is actually sent to the standard error stream. So that's basically this big piece of text that you saw on the screen. And then I'm using import string to import that as lines, right? So every line here is being imported, and I'm going to select the ones that are only these purple dshow lines. So basically I'm saying select, right, from the lines that I just imported, the lines that contain the word dshow, right? And so I'm kind of filtering out everything that doesn't have that. So I'm left with these 6 lines of text. And then next 2 statements basically remove other things. So they remove this lines that contain direct show. For example, this is a line that contains direct show. That's a line that contains direct show. So that's filtered out. And then alternative right here is also being filtered out. So this is a line I don't care about, and this is a line I don't care about. So what I'm left with is a list with 2 elements, which is this line and this line right there. And that's finally what I'm getting right here. So I'm basically now looking for things that are, a double quote followed by any number of characters, another double quote. So I'm just basically using this string cases command to, extract this string right here and this string right there. That's what that does. And then on my machine, I'm just saying, okay, well, the first device is my webcam, so I take the first part of that list, and I'm assigning that to a variable called video. That may, of course, be different on different machines, and so this is not fully robust. But at this point, I basically have something where video is, this video device. Okay, that's the first part. Alright, then the second part is writing a function that will actually do the recording. So there's a record to video file function that we're going to define. And before we do that, we're actually going to specify what options it needs to take. So there are 6 options. The first option is the video recording binary, which we already said was this FFmpeg thing, which is over here. Right, that can differ per user or per machine, and so that's a good optional argument to have. Then the video recording device is what we just talked about. That's these lines right here, which basically return this, USB video device, which is also different from, user to user and machine to machine. The video recording size. So there can be webcams typically support a number of recording sizes, such as like 640 by 480 or 1280 by 720, and higher end ones go all the way up to 1920 times 1080, and so on. So that can be, you can kind of feed in as an option a different sizes that you want to record. Video frame rate is also something. Devices support different frame rates. So a low end frame rate is 5, and high end will be 25 or 30 or 60, or could probably go even higher than that. I'm just using a very simple low one. Then the video pixel format. I'm not completely familiar what it is. It's usually this YUYV422 value, and I don't know if you can give it other values, so I made it an option just to have it as an option, but that's a pretty constant thing, it seems. And then video recording duration, that's in seconds, so that's the default for this function will be 5 seconds, but you can change that, and I'm actually doing that here as an example for changing the option to 10 seconds. So then let's take a look at the function here. So a big chunk of this function is actually processing these option values. So we'll basically say, there's a local variable called binary, and it's given the option value for the video recording binary, which is this FFmpeg thing string that's right here. And same thing for video. That will be the video recording device, which is this one, which was this value. So for the size, we actually have to kind of translate the Wolfram language, list of two, like a width and a height, into something that's just a string that's 1280, x 720. So I'm using a bit of code that basically takes the numbers and turns them into strings. Right here I'm mapping to string over the numbers 1280 and 720. So then we end up with a list of 2 strings with these same values. Then I'm using riffle to insert the the x in between the elements. Riffle basically inserts whatever you give it here inside these elements, so in between the elements, individual elements. And then finally I string join everything together, so you kind of end up with this string that's 1280 x 720. So that's a little bit of extra processing for the size. Then the rate is just a simple, 2 string, on the video frame rate. So that's pretty straightforward. Format is just a straight option value of the video pixel format. Nothing has to change there. And the duration you also call toString to kind of turn a number 5 into a string. Okay, and then we have to build the actual command that we're going to run. So that's the sort of the guts that you see right here. That's what this is. So again, we have the binary. Then the dshow is a Windows-specific direct show mechanism. So you kind of have to give this on Windows to do the recording. On other platforms, it'll be something else. Then the video size, the frame rate, the pixel format, then the device, right? Specifying the device, the USB video device, and finally the duration option and the file. And then you run that command. But before you run it, there's two more little things it does. It prints a temporary cell that kind of shows you that it's about to record, and it shows a progress indicator. And it also deletes the file if it exists, because if you give it a file and the file already exists, then the ffmpeg command will basically pause and ask you, do you really want to record to this file, and then everything gets stuck. And this is not, obviously this is not an interactive thing. So to avoid that, I'm just deleting the file, the AVI file that you give it. And then finally the function just returns the file name, which can be useful. Okay, so let's evaluate those things. And then we should be ready to record a video. So we are going to create a sort of random file name. You can probably use create temporary file, but I'm using create UUID. So every time you do that, you get a slightly different file name. You don't have to do that, but in this case, I thought that was useful. So that's the AVI variable here. And the only option I'm changing here is the duration. So I'm going to record it for 10 seconds instead of 5. So let's see if that goes. Right, so it prints out recording for 10 seconds. And the actual elapsed time will be a little bit longer because the ffmpeg tool will also need to save, convert what it's recording to a file. And that takes a little bit of time. Okay, so now we have a file name, right? E653, and then lots of other numbers. And we can use the system open function to, open the file with the file viewer that works on AVI files. So let's take a look at the file. Right, so my default player is the VLC media player. And okay, so the file name showed for a second here. Let me replay that one more time. Right, so you see the file name here, that's E653, and that's the same thing. And that's pretty much it. Like you now have a function that uses an external tool to that's being called with the run process command. It runs the tool, it does the recording, and saves the file, which you can then view using system open.